Did you know that a part of your biggest dreams and goals are paved with imperfect action? There's a quote that I believe that would deeply resonate with you. And I believe it holds truth for all of us today. It goes like, imperfection is beauty, madness is genius, and it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than to be absolutely boring. Imperfection is beauty, madness is genius, and it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than to be absolutely boring. Now let that sink in for a few moments. Now in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a few facts, a few of which is going to be true for me, and one of which would be true for you. So that means in the next few minutes, I need you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to say. Is that fair? Awesome. Now the first fact is, my name is Dino Delplesh, and I'm one of the most sexiest men alive. Yeah? The second fact is, I'm dating one of the most beautiful women in Asia, and that's my fiance right there. Hi, baby. Now, the third fact is, I'm from one of the most beautiful islands in the Caribbean called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And because you're here listening to me today, you have officially been invited. So the next time you shop in the Caribbean, make sure you holler at your boy. Is that fair? Now, the final fact is, the fact that you've been waiting for is, leaders are readers, and books change lives. Now, let me see the hands of all the readers in the room. Oh, I see my people. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Now, do you want to know a secret? Just lean in just for a few minutes. True learning doesn't happen in the collection of information, but in the execution of it. Yeah. True learning doesn't happen in the collection of information, but in the execution of it. And during this speech, I have one mission and one mission only, and that is to get you into as much action than you can ever imagine. So now let me see the hands of all the action takers in the room. Big up yourself. You know who you are. Big up, big up. Now let me ask you a question. I want you to answer this inside. You don't need to repeat or shout it at me, because it might throw me off my flow. What do you believe is the number one thing that universally drive all of us as humans? Usually when I ask this question, some people would say money, joy, love, peace, happiness. Good answers, but wrong answers. Yeah, they're good things. They're things that people want. But in my opinion, I don't believe that they're the number one thing. Now let me take you back to a time in my life when I had to learn this the hard way. Now this was of September 2017. And there I was on the 7th floor of my school dormitory. My hands were tightly wrapped around the balcony rails. I can still feel the draft from the 7th floor tickling my nose, with one word going through my head. Jump, Dino. Jump. Just get it over with. You know, that's the only way you can end the pain. Now, that was the first time I had a thought of killing myself. Now, I don't know what thoughts are keeping you up at night, but at that point, I know that something needs to change. I was in a bad place financially. My relationship was going to the dogs, and on my best days, I spent my best days walking to the 7th floor, wrapped in bed. Now, one day while I was in bed, I stumbled upon this speaker by the name of Jim Rohn, and his words has forever changed my life to this day. And it was as if he popped out the screen and he looked me directly in my eyes and he said, you need to change. For things to get better for you, you need to get better. That hit me right here. Because in that moment, I realized that my experience had nothing to do with outside experiences, but it had everything to do with who I was being. And I pondered. So what you're simply saying is that if I get better, my situation would get better, but I don't even know where to start. Now, I did what any other human being would have done. Stayed in bed, and I continued scrolling. And then he said this, Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. For when you work harder on your job, you'll make a living. But when you work harder on yourself, you'll make a fortune. That hit me right here. Because throughout my entire life, I did everything right. I was a great student, valedictorian, came to China on a scholarship. I was a star kid, but I felt so empty inside. Now what do you do? Where do you start? I did what any other human being would have done. I stayed in bed and I continued scrolling until he said this. Now this is the message that I came here to share with you today. And if you don't remember anything from this speech, I want you to remember this. Yeah, he said, don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Now that's when I get the message. I realized in that moment, perfection wasn't required. Progress was made through taking imperfect action. In that moment, I realized if things were going to get better for me, I would need to take imperfect action and move. If I was going to get better, I would need to take imperfect action and become more. Because the number one thing that universally drives us all is that we simply want more. Won't it be nice to have more money in your bank account? Come on, who wouldn't? Won't it be nice to have more passion in your relationship? Won't it be nice to have more joy, more love, more peace, to become more productive? But the simple fact is, for you to get more, you need to take imperfect action and become more. You need to shift, gear, and activate your own full potential and become the CEO of your own life. Now with my heart beating, I decided to take that leap of faith, embracing my imperfections. And guess what? Those seemingly imperfect steps lead to a series of events that changed my life in ways I could never imagine. I went on to inspire an entire campus to live a healthier lifestyle. Completely switched career from being an engineer to enrolling in a master's program to become an entrepreneur. Starting my own coaching business. Standing here delivering this speech at TEDx AEBS. Now you can clap for that. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because most often we'll wait for the perfect moment to start. But growth happens through taking imperfect action. Now there was this research done by Dr. Brené Brown that states that perfectionism hinders creativity. It stops our flow, stuck in endless revision. Now I want to share with you another point in my life when I had to learn this the hard way. And this was in 2021, which is exactly 3 years ago, during which I was serving Microsoft client as a support engineer. Now, while it's good to say you work for Microsoft, the pay wasn't all that. And I had other dreams. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a paid speaker. I wanted to be my own boss. Now, the weight of life and my core value of being able to take care of my family weighed heavily on that dream. So instead of following the entrepreneurial path, I decided to get a paid job, better benefits, better salary. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, saw this as a fresh start, so she got a job in the city, and I took the remainder of my savings to get an apartment in the city center in Shanghai. That was the most money I've ever spent in my human life. Yeah. Now, 3 days before my resignation, I'm walking through the streets of Minhang, right here in Shanghai, and I receive this message. Now, this was a message from the HR account manager at my new employer. So I picked up the phone, and I heard, hey, Mr. Delplesh, I'm really sorry to say, but we won't be able to issue your work permit. You can imagine how confused that must have been for me. To which I replied, what do you mean you can't issue my work permit? I've submitted all my documents. You said everything is fine. Can we meet in person? To which he replied, I'm sorry, Mr. Delpesh. At this time, our legal team states that we can't hire foreigners because of policy changes. What I'll suggest is that you ask your previous employer for a job, or you'll need to find another opportunity. Now, I didn't know how that conversation ended because my spirit had literally left my body. I felt like everything was going the wrong way. And I was drowned in all the worst possibilities. I was upset. I was angry. But in that moment, as a bolt of lightning came to me, ask for help, Dino. Ask for help. Now, that may have seemed like the most obvious answer, but what most of you don't know is that I'm recovering from helper syndrome. What that simply means is I'll always be the first to help, but the last to ask. Can I see the hands of those who can relate? I see my people. Yeah, respect. However, my back was against the wall, so I decided to reach out to the one person I trust the most. And during that time, my heart was filled with a desire to make a difference through coaching. However, the shadows of perfectionism loom largely. I hesitated and I let self doubt and fear held me back from that dream. However, I decided to call my partner and I shared with her how I felt. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was lost. And I picked up the phone. I remember saying, "Hi, baby, you know that opportunity that I had? They won't be able to hire me. I don't even know what I want to do now. I felt like such a failure." Now, she looked at me and this is what she said. She said, "You you already know what you want to do. You don't need to be perfect to start. Your authenticity and your willingness to learn, that's what truly matters." Now, her words ablaze a new sense of courage and determination in my heart. And with her by my side, I decided I'm going to embrace my imperfections with an open heart. And as I went on to that journey of embracing my imperfections, my dreams started taking shape. I realized that progress was made through taking imperfect action. During that moment, I was reminded that uncertainty is necessary on this path because it's through those beautiful imperfect endeavors that we find our true calling and we make an impact onto the life of others. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because your fears, your doubts, they do make sense on some level. But you don't need to be perfect to start. Your authenticity, your willingness to learn, that's what truly matters. As kids, we don't learn to work perfectly. We stumble, we fall. Every step builds momentum along the way. Life is like climbing a mountain trail. It's tempting to start when the path is clear, yeah? But then we'll never start. With each step, we gain traction and we build momentum along the way. Like the great Steve Jobs says, real artist ships. Ideas need to leave your head if they're going to change the world. And today I want to invite you, unshackle yourself from perfectionism. Stand tall, knowing that you didn't develop your ability to grow through taking imperfect action. And when you embrace your imperfect action and you go on that journey, I want you to know that you don't have to do it alone. All my recovering helper syndrome people, yeah, you don't have to do it alone. Ask for help. Reach out to a community who embrace the values of progress over perfection. Find a coach, find a mentor, join communities that are online. And I want to leave you with a lasting hope of inspiration. Remember, imperfection is beauty. Madness is genius. And it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than to be absolutely boring. Now, you have everything you need to become the CEO of your own life. And if you don't have, take imperfect action and go and find it. Thank you.